Welcome, everyone, both people that come here every week and to our visitors today. Thank you for being here and allowing us to share something with you and, being able to share something about Pathfinders with you. Today's topic for this sermon is Pathfinders with a Purpose. So, what is the purpose of Pathfinders? Cambridge Dictionary describes purpose as what causes us to do something or our motive. So why was Pathfinder started and what motivates millions of people to do Pathfinders from all over the world? I believe that there are three major purposes to Pathfinders: to minister to other people, to grow our faith, and to develop our skills in many areas. When Pathfinders was first formally started in 1950, the key emphasis was to provide a way for young people from the ages of 10 to 15 to develop key skills and hobbies that would help them in life, while providing a way for them to connect with God and to grow their faith, while also ministering to others. This original purpose has been passed down over the years, and as I touched on earlier, is a main part of the current Pathfinder purpose and is what I'd like to share with you. Firstly, one of the major purposes of Pathfinders is to minister to other people through our actions in our community. This service in our community is a major part of being a Pathfinder with a purpose. A few months ago, we had an Anzac Day service where we all went to the Ringwood RSL and attended the dawn service. Those of us who were able to attend had to wake up at the ridiculous time of 4 o'clock in the morning, or according to Benji, a normal time to wake up. We were all dressed in our full parade formal uniforms like what we are wearing now, and they represented our club and Pathfinders Australia. We participated in the dawn service by laying a wreath at the memorial and just attending and being there. This was quite a new experience for some of us, and also not only did it leave an impact on us, on the people that went, but our community. By being present and participating in this service, honouring those who died for our freedoms, I believe that we left an important message to our local community. As Pathfinders, in everything we do, especially our community service, this becomes a reflection of God and of Christianity. On that day, we were a representation of our club. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 16, that's on page 830 in the blue Bibles in your seats, "In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Jesus calls us to be a light in a darkened world. By simple acts of service, as Pathfinders and followers of Christ, we can make small impacts in this world. Jesus calls this being a light to others. Time and time again, we read stories of how Jesus put other people first, serving their needs and uplifting them rather than himself. In other words, he placed the needs of others before himself. Philippians 2 verses 6 through to 8 says that he did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Jesus did not have a problem with pride or selfishness. Rather, he was moved by his love for humanity. This was what motivated him to serve and what led him ultimately to sacrifice his life for us all in what was the biggest act of service in history. He died what was the death reserved for the worst in society, crucifixion, the death reserved for murderers. This love for humanity allowed him to be able to bear this torturous death because of his love for us all. And as he cried out, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing," as these men tortured and mocked him, Jesus only had love in return. Can you imagine that? As these men were mocking him, screaming at him, "Come down from the cross and save yourself." These people spat on him, gambled for his clothing. After all of his disciples abandoned him, and after the one that claimed to love him and would never leave him rejected that he even knew him. Continued devotion to others in the midst of adversity is the meaning of service. John 15 verses 13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down his life for his friends." This exemplifies Jesus' message that we should put the needs of others before ourselves, and was the basis of everything he did here on this earth. His death on the cross is the ultimate sacrifice, and is a reminder to us all why we serve. Because he died for our sins And since Jesus is the one who we should aspire to be more like in how we serve, we should always be putting the needs of others over the needs of ourselves, no matter the cost. Thank you.
Another part of being a Pathfinder on purpose is to grow our faith. What I mean is, in order for our faith to grow, we have to intentionally grow our faith. Let's look at the life of Moses as an example. In Exodus chapters 3 and 4, we read the story of God calling Moses to be his spokesman. The Israelites had already been in slavery for hundreds of years, and God was about to fulfill his promise to Abraham and deliver the Israelites into freedom and the land which was promised to him and his descendants. Even though God does not need us to achieve his will, he invites us to be part of his master plan. Exodus chapter 3 verses 9 to 10 reads, "Look, the cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abuse them. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people out of Egypt." Perhaps Moses' response was not the answer God was looking for, even though he probably knew what Moses would say that because he knows everything. So Moses replies, "Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" If you don't know the story, let me give you some background. Moses grew up in Egypt at a time when the Pharaoh was killing all the Jewish baby boys, but his mum placed him in a basket and sent him down the river Nile. He gets picked up by the princess. Moses' sister intervenes and convinces her to let Moses' mum raise him until he was 7. After this, Moses lived in the palace until one day he killed an Egyptian soldier and he ran away, throwing his whole life away. In Patriarchs and Prophets, the author Ellen White writes, "In slaying the Egyptian, Moses had fallen into the same error so often committed by his fathers, of taking into their own hands the work that God had promised to do. It was not God's will to deliver his people by warfare, as Moses thought, but by his own mighty power, that the glory might be ascribed to him alone. Yet even this rash act was overruled by God to accomplish his purposes. Moses was not prepared for his great work. He had yet to learn the same lesson of faith that Abraham and Jacob had been taught, not to rely upon human strength or wisdom, but upon the power of God for the fulfillment of his promises." In simple words, Moses failed to trust in God and mucked up. Back to our story in Exodus. Moses replies to God in verse 11. But Moses protested to God, "Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" Moses is feeling inadequate to be God's servant. When he took matters into his own hands, he committed a grave error. He murdered a soldier. He was feeling inadequate because of his previous failures. And this is where it gets interesting. Verse 12 records God answering back, "I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain." God does his best work when we are at our weakest. You see, Moses' pride and abilities got in the way of God's plan. His plan was about demonstrating his mighty power, grace, and love rather than showing off Moses. Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 and 10, "Each time he said, 'My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ can work through me.' That's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses and in the insults, hardships, persecutions, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, I am strong." Stepping out into the unknown strengthens our faith, because when we strip away from all our insecurities, weakness, and pride, God builds us up into the person we are meant to be. We can't do this on our own without trusting him. This is called faith in God. As Pathfinders, many times we are called to step out into the unknown. Many times the activities we do encourage us to step out of our comfort zone. Just like Moses, we may feel inadequate, like we are going to fail or even get hurt. It's not easy to look like a fool in front of your friends, especially as teenagers. However, there are rewards to stepping out. Our confidence grows and our fears decrease. More importantly, this is teaching us and preparing us for the times when God will call us to take a stand for Him. I know He has a plan for each one of us, and He is calling us to step out in faith and live for Him. Living out of His law is a step of faith, being different from others, not fully understanding what we do, etc. We may think we understand, but all the things God asks us to do is for our own happiness and best for us. It may not be a popular thing to do, but even going to an Adventist school, living out His law may not be classified as being popular. One of my dad's favorite verses is found in Joshua chapter 1, verses 8. Study this book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. God encourages us to follow His law because living out His law equals successful life. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Today we just talked about what it is to be a Pathfinder with a purpose. It's about being the light of the world, just like Jesus taught us. Our purpose can begin in secret. God doesn't always start with big dramatic moments like David, who began doing simple tasks like tending his flock and playing his harp. He was being faithful in the tending of his flock and playing his harp. He was being faithful in the small things, and God was using that time to prepare him for something greater. Pathfinders, our purpose is to be a reflection of God and of Christianity as a whole. Paul writes in Ephesians 5, verse 1 to 2. Follow God's example. Therefore, as dearly loved children, they walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us, and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering, as a sacrifice to God. Through our actions and community service, we can shine that light. There will always be trials. We might face our own giants, like fear, temptation, and peer pressure. But even with all of that, we need to serve others and God. We can encourage others and build each other up. In our work with Jesus. Our purpose in Pathfinders is to help each other. God's purpose will always be fulfilled. David didn't give up because he knew God's purpose was still alive in him. After many trials, David became king, and later on, his family line brought forth Jesus. Our faithfulness in the little things shape our character for the greater responsibilities. So I ask you, Pathfinders, do you want to be a Pathfinder with purpose? I ask the same thing to all who are here, and I invite all who are watching online. Do you want a life on a purpose? I invite you to try Jesus. Thank you.